All right, this is George Brad's work. He says here he's doing some concepting for like an organic armor. Um, so the first thing I'm going to say right off the bat is that you really want to pay attention to um, like you've got the ideas down, uh, but start with the anatomy first. And so I'm going to show you on this one here. So the first and foremost thing is the anatomy on this figure is really kind of screwed up because I'll show you. So you've got the head here, all right? You put the neck in there, and that basically leaves her torso about this big. And then when it comes down, coming forward, comes down, you see the torso is already off. Um, and then what you want to do is uh, put in the hips, and the hips are going to come out a little bit more here, and same thing over here. So you're going to get that more that feminine appearance, and because you've got the big hips, but the problem is your hips are kind of misplaced. So either your head needs to be moved a lot forward, or the torso needs to be moved backwards. And then from there, get in, I would say, almost a um, longer leg. And I think that's going to kind of proportion out everything a little bit better. Unless you've got kind of this dwarfish feel to it. And I think that's the problem is um, the legs kind of got shortened. So just by putting in the longer legs like so and moving it like so, I think that's going to be a better aspect ratio. And then from there you can add in the arms, which I think are in a decent position. They're kind of bowed a little bit. They're almost like she's trying to flap away. Um, and I think that's because of the proportion of the hips. You could try to adjust that. I think if you would have um, lowered this one a little bit better, like so, and then put this in the back, I think it would have made more sense. So I think that's the first thing I see right off the bat. The second thing I see when you're coloring, and I'm kind of going backwards, so I'm picking on the anatomy first, but then I'm gonna pick on the colors. So one of the easiest things that you can do when you're doing this is you've got your highlight in here, but it's weird because every highlight is a little centered. What you instead want to do is let's just do something like this. So let's do, what you want to do is get your forms down first. So let's overlay, nope, screen. Okay, so get that screen down first, where you want those lights to be. Um, and then from there, you can, start pulling out like a little bit more depth in the armor. And get your light source consistent, because right now you've got it kind of scattered all over the place. And I get it, it's a fast representation, but simply by putting in and something like this, this looks a lot more unified now. And so on. So I mean, get the uniformity of that in there, and then you can really quickly just kind of rush, flats in there, and then when you want to go with a new layer and get those darks to kind of break things apart a little bit more, um, especially on the correct side, you can get the darks in there and really put some more depth into it. Same thing with this, it just feels like you scribbled the lighting in there. And just what I always do when I do this is just make sure you get that cylinder effect, and the cylinder effect is enough to give you that form and depth. Um, so that, and then on top of that, I'm going to go to the next one here. Um, One of the things that you can do, like I see some of these other ones, the bodies work well, and on some of these, the bodies don't work at all. I would just draw one body and then use that as your default file and copy and then scribble on over everything. And I think that that's going to give you more uniformity in your sketches, because it's subtle, but by changing up um, the armor on some of these, like this one here, just grab red. So this one here, the armor on the back here just doesn't feel even. It feels like it's more lopsided. Whereas, I think if you would have changed that, um, and I think it would give you a different perception on this. The other thing too is looking at, the hips. On this one, you're more manly, whereas on this one here, you've got more of that feminine um, architecture in there, in my perspective here. So getting the body type down first, and then sketching over the body type, I think would benefit you greatly from your sketches going on to the next level. I think the designs are really cool. Um, one of the things I would say is keep the patterns consistent. So like I see this as a pattern here, but nowhere really in the rest of the design is there another pattern. So I would keep this pattern here consistent, and then you probably would want to change that to something like that, and then even put it here, and that's a three-piece. You're getting these patterns to connect. Then the feathering here, get the feathering going on down here. Add that pattern in, and I think that'll actually help out a lot more. It'll actually get your designs to a more consistent feeling. All right, I hope that helps, George.